Hello, good people, and welcome to another episode of Notes from the Teacher. So, today I was checking out the National Day calendar, and it is currently February 8th, 2025, and today is National Cut the Cord Day. And so, the thing with National Cut the Cord Day is that it was actually a day for people to evaluate, whether or not they wanted to keep the expense of having a cable provider or um, turn it off and just make use of the various apps that are now available. Because, of course, when most of us got cable back in 10, 15 years ago, there definitely weren't as many streaming options as there are now. And so, with all of that, the current way that cable is going, everything that you can stream on cable, that you can get on cable, you can stream via some app. The part that nobody really paid attention to in all of that, though, is that for a short while, when all the apps were free, or at least, low cost, $5, $10, it wasn't so bad of a bill. But now it is very well possible that you can cut the cord of cable, but still end up spending more to have all of these streaming services. But that's not the point of why we're here today. The point of why we're here today is because I got to thinking about cutting the cord in various aspects of life in general. And so I just finished a course, teaching a course a couple of weeks ago called Stirring Up Gifts. And so the S for stir, which was an acronym, was to seek. And the only way that you can really seek God and study and follow is that you have to cut the cord somewhere. You have to cut the cord on, or be willing to cut the cord on the amount of time you spend scrolling, on the amount of time that you spend binge watching, Netflix, on the time that you spend binge watching anything, scrolling on TikTok, scrolling on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, whatever social media catches your attention. At some point in time, those things all become corded to you. You are so much engaged in them that you can't see your way out to do anything else outside of one of those things. And so you know for a fact that you're courted when your first reaction, when you have any block of free time, like even the smallest amount, is that you find yourself just wanting to scroll, 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 scroll. And it doesn't matter, what it is. You're not necessarily looking for anything in particular. Um, and sometimes it's needed. You need a good minute to decompress and, do a lot of nothing. I get that. This is not that. This is the part where you can actively look back at your amount of time spent in any day and see that the amount of time that you've actually spent scrolling equals the amount of a workday, or even exceeds the amount of a workday. And so if you think about the average workday, they are 7 to 8 hours, maybe nine for a full time employee, given breaks and et cetera. I'm a teacher. So if my full day of work is like 7 hours and something minutes, I think it's like 20 minutes or something like that. So on my phone, there is an activity recorder. It, takes a minute to look at like all the things you do. How much time do you actually spend on your device? I don't think I've ever hit 7 hours scrolling. I'm just never really that interested. But it was interesting to see that, number one, the phone actually had that because I never paid it any attention. But two, just exactly how much time I had spent, even though I thought I was only doing it, 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there, yada, yada, yada. When all of those 5 to 10 minutes added up, it really became a large amount of time that I could have spent doing anything else other than mindless, brainless activities. And again, I get it. Some days, sometimes we need to be able to decompress and do the mindless, brainless thing. It's called rest. Your body will thank you for it. But what happens is that when you lay down to rest and you're scrolling, you're really not resting because now your mind starts reacting to all the things that you see on the scroll. Even if you're looking for comedy, if you're looking to laugh, if you're looking for jokes, doing all of those things, it still sets the precedence of keeping your mind running. So you don't actually get to quote unquote rest per se until you cut it all off. But now there's the other side of that. When you're an entrepreneur, when you're in business, when you're in ministry, when you are doing things to just better your relationship with Christ in general, you have to be willing to put those things to the side. You have to be willing to spend the time that you would spend scrolling, or spend the time that you would spend on YouTube, or spend the time that you would spend chasing um, prophetic words from whoever. Spend that time actually chasing the Father. So what if, instead of going through all of the TikTok prophets or the YouTube prophets, maybe you actually sat down and read the book of Jeremiah, the book of Amos, the book of Micah, Isaiah? Pick a book. You have some options to choose from. Instead of running after the prophetic words of some person who may or may not be getting their words from the Lord, because all the time we don't know. You have to test the spirit by the spirit, but that's a whole separate conversation. The majority of people, though, they keep running from one to one, they're only looking for people to ride with their foolishness. They're not necessarily looking for the real and true prophetic word. They're looking for the thing that resonates with them. And so usually when people go that route, the thing that resonates with them is the thing that rides with their foolishness. And so at the minute that you speak something that is anti their foolishness, oh, now you don't hear from the Lord. You don't hear anything because it's not aligned with what they actually want to do. Meanwhile, when your seek is in a different category and it's pure, even if you should come across a prophetic word, maybe you really were looking for one. You like to listen to certain preachers or sermons, or Sunday services or whatever, and they say something that gets to you, but instead of taking the path of, oh, I don't believe that because it doesn't vibe with what I want to hear, you realize and you understand that no, it's not the thing that I want to hear, but it's the thing that I need to hear. But the problem is we can't hear any of it because we're too busy scroll, 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 ha ha ha, scroll, ha ha, scroll, or Love is Blind binging, or any of the other show binging. And I get it. I do. There's a set of movies that I really want to watch today. I might not. I'm not sure yet. But you know, as the time goes on, with all the things that are going on right now, one of the things that we have to be careful to protect are our ear gates and our eye gates. There's a lot happening in the media. There's a lot happening just in the air. There's a lot happening in general. And the majority of it is extremely overwhelming. And the way to cut some of the overwhelm is to cut what's feeding it. And so if you don't spend your day scrolling up and down, reading news stories, reading people's commentary about news stories, looking for podcasters or whoever. Yes, I understand that I am now speaking on a podcast, but I'm not spreading political rhetoric or anything either. This is a podcast for you to hopefully, when you come back to it or come around to it, you understand that unless the things that you are listening to are actually feeding your actual spirit, they're not doing you any good. I'm not saying don't watch the news. I'm not saying don't be an informed citizen. I am saying monitor how much of that you take in, because when it begins to sit on you, it's a immediate track to becoming overwhelmed with not just the things that are going on, but with life in general, because it spills over. It alters your mental state. It puts you into a space of panic. You're always in this consistent place of what's next, what's next, what's next, what's next. And you don't have to be. That's not a choice that you have to deal with. That's not a thing that you have to do. Protect your peace, protect your sanity, protect your heart, protect your gates, protect the gates of your children. Be aware of what they're watching, what they're taking in, the things that they're hearing. Um, with just all of these things going on, we all have to become a little more sensitive to God and His Word, not just on surface level Sundays during service, or Wednesday night, weekday, midday, midweek Bible study, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, whenever it is your church decides to have it. Not just those days, but every day. Every day has to be spent with some bit of intention toward learning about God and the things that He needs us to learn about Him, His Word, and how to move forward. Because if we're not tuned into that, we will get caught up in the rhetoric of all of these things going on. And you don't have to be. You don't have to feel like you're stuck. You don't have to feel all of this constant rah rah and everything else of things going on. It just doesn't have to be. And so, my admonishment to you today, take some time, find out what chords you need to cut, and then get the scissors and get to cutting. Have a great day and happy Saturday.